You were never meant to hear this. Not like this. Because the truth I'm about to tell you, it doesn't belong in textbooks. That IT doesn't make it into polite conversations. And the people who do know it, they've used it to control you. They smiled at your silence. They labeled you quiet, shy, sensitive. But what they really meant was not dangerous. They were wrong. You were never broken. You were hidden, and now you're waking up. Let me paint you a scene. You're standing in a crowded room, noise crashing like waves, laughter, loudness, egos elbowing for air, and you're there, still, aware, watching. You're not lost, you're observing. Every twitch, every lie wrapped in a compliment, every social game disguised as fun. You see everything, and no one sees you. But that's about to change. Because today, you learn what Carl Jung was too afraid to say out loud. That introversion isn't weakness, it's strategic concealment. It's the signature of the wolf among sheep. If you don't understand what's inside you, the world will weaponize it against you. They already have. This world isn't designed for deep minds, it's designed for noise shiny, loud, shallow. They build systems to drown you out. Classrooms that reward hand-raising, offices that promote the loudest speaker, parties where silence is mistaken for awkwardness. They don't care about your depth. They fear it. Because if someone like you truly wakes up, you don't follow the crowd. You see the crowd, and Carl Jung. He whispered a warning most people missed. He said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." You see, introversion isn't about being antisocial. It's about being anti-superficial. And that terrifies them. Because here's the forbidden truth. The world isn't run by extroverts. It's performed by them. But behind the curtain, in the dark corners, in war rooms, negotiation tables, locked studies at 3 a.m., that's where introverts live. Where ideas are born. Where plans are written. Where empires begin. You weren't built to shout over people. You were built to outlast them. Stillness isn't silence. Stillness is strategy. But you were never taught that. You were taught to doubt your nature. To speak up more. To get out of your shell. They tried to pull you into their world because they couldn't survive in yours. Let me tell you about a boy named Elliot, quiet, skinny. Spent lunches alone. He read books while others threw food. They mocked him. They laughed. But every insult became another brick. Another stone in his mind's fortress. Until one day he stopped hiding and they started watching. Elliot became a coder, built a system, launched a product. Within 3 years, he owned the companies that rejected him, bought out the bosses who overlooked him. That he didn't raise his voice, that he raised his leverage. You think power comes from volume? No, power comes from vision, and vision comes from silence. So why does society mock introverts? Why push them into corners? Because if you ever realized what you are, they couldn't control you anymore. Let's go even deeper. Carl Jung believed in what he called individuation, the painful, powerful process of becoming whole. But to become whole, you must first face the parts of you society taught you to reject. Your solitude, your sensitivity, your spiraling thoughts that go 10 layers deeper than anyone around you. Those weren't weaknesses. They were blueprints, encrypted codes to unlock the self most people never meet. And here's what they never told you. Introverts are built for depth warfare. While others fight for attention, you fight for understanding. While they chase applause, you chase alignment. And while they burn out trying to be seen, you become undeniable by mastering what can't be faked. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room and felt everything before anyone spoke? Have you ever watched someone laugh and known it was hiding pain? Have you ever wanted to scream your thoughts but chose instead to learn everything about your enemy before they knew your name? That's not insecurity, that's introvert intuition. A skill they'll pay for in therapy and training seminars that you were born with. But you must stop apologizing for it. Stop dimming it. Stop acting like the world is right and you are wrong. Because the most dangerous men in history were not the loudest. They were the quiet architects. Napoleon wrote strategy alone in tents while cannons fired. Da Vinci filled journals while the city raged outside. Miyamoto Musashi, the deadliest swordsman Japan ever saw, preferred silence over celebration. You think that's coincidence? No, that's pattern, that's power, and it's hiding in you. But power unused is power rotting. So here's the test. Are you going to keep living like your quiet is a curse? Or are you going to weaponize it like the gift it was always meant to be? Because in this world, if you don't know who you are, they will name you for you. And the name they give you will be small, powerless, containable. You are not containable. Not anymore. Because now you know stillness can be sharper than speech, and a mind that listens can own the world it observes. But we're only just beginning. You've felt the storm building, the rage beneath the restraint. The world has mistaken your silence for surrender. Let's show them what silence really sounds like when it speaks for the first time. You've always felt it, haven't you? That quiet presence in the room that somehow commands more attention than the loudest voice. That person who speaks little, but when they do, everything stops. Everyone listens, and no one forgets. That's not charisma. That's not luck, that's power. Refined in the crucible of solitude. And here's the truth they never wanted you to hear. Introverts have mastered the art of internal warfare. While the world drowns in noise, scrolling, reacting, performing, the introvert disappears, not because they're weak, but because they're sharpening their blade in the dark. See, society worships the extrovert, the talker, the networker, the loud one. But here's the forbidden truth Carl Jung pointed to. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And to do that, you have to step away from the crowd. You have to vanish, because introverts don't escape people. They escape illusions, the illusion that constant motion means progress, the illusion that being seen is the same as being powerful, the illusion that the loudest voice wins the war. But in truth, the war is won in the silence. While others seek validation, the introvert seeks understanding, and what they find in the depths of that silence is something terrifying. A clarity that cannot be shaken, a presence that doesn't beg. They return not to fit in, but to take control. And if you are one of them, if you feel the pull to withdraw, to think, to observe, understand this: you are not broken, you are not shy, you are not weak. You are preparing, you are studying every detail, you are watching how people move, how they lie, how they manipulate each other. You are seeing the patterns long before they see you. And when the time comes to strike, you'll do it in one move. No wasted words, no performance. Just precision. You were built for strategy. Look at the world's greatest thinkers, tacticians, and inventors. They weren't in the spotlight. They weren't the loudest. They were the ones quietly rearranging reality from behind the curtain. Da Vinci, Jung, Einstein, Lincoln. All men of silence. All feared in different ways. Not because of what they said, but because of what they saw. And this is the next truth they won't teach you in school or on social media or in any leadership seminar. Your silence makes people uneasy. Why? Because silence can't be read, can't be controlled. It forces others to confront themselves. When you say nothing, they project everything. They imagine your judgment. They imagine your intelligence. They imagine your next move. And that is power. Because when people don't know what you're thinking, they become afraid of what you might do. Not because you're dangerous, but because you've refused to be predictable, and the world fears what it cannot predict. Now watch what happens next. The extrovert shouts to convince. The introvert whispers and shakes the room. The extrovert throws a tantrum. The introvert locks eyes and says nothing, and suddenly, everything is unstable. Because here's a dark truth. People don't listen to logic. They listen to energy. And when your energy is composed, grounded, deep, people don't question you. They feel something ancient, something they can't explain, something they bow to without realizing it. It's why when you walk into a room with presence, without words, people turn. It's why when you finally speak, others lean in. It's why your opinion, offered rarely, carries more weight than 10 shouted demands. You've been told you're too quiet, too intense, too in your head. But what they don't see is that your head is a cathedral. It's where revolutions begin. It's where the map of the world is redrawn. It's where you build the future in silence. before the world even knows what's coming. That's why you don't waste energy performing. Because introverts don't impress, they impact. And when you finally choose to engage, you don't play the game. You rewrite the rules so the next time they call you too quiet, smile. Because what they're really saying is, I can't read you and that scares me. You're not giving me what I expect, and that threatens me. You move differently, and that makes me feel exposed. Good. Let them be confused. Let them wonder. Let them talk while you think. Let them perform while you prepare. Because when the storm hits, it won't be the loudest voice that survives. It will be the calmest, the clearest, the most grounded, and that will be you. The one who walked in silence, built strength in shadows, and came back not to be seen, but to take control. Now you're ready to see just how far this rabbit hole goes. Because everything you've felt, every withdrawal, every moment you chose to be alone instead of entertained, it wasn't weakness. It was preparation for something bigger. The world was never meant to understand you. You were meant to understand the world. And in the next breath, you'll see what happens when that understanding turns into undeniable dominance. When silence becomes your sword. They thought you were quiet because you had nothing to say. They were wrong. You were quiet because they had nothing worth hearing. You weren't withdrawing. You were evolving, and now that silence has turned into sight, now that stillness has become strength, you don't just see the game. You see through it. Every social interaction, every fake smile, every room full of people jostling for attention. It no longer seduces you, because you've seen how fragile it all is, how desperate it is, how hungry the world is for validation and applause. But not you. You don't crave the spotlight. You command it. You don't run toward power. You let it come to you, because you've learned one of the most elite, forbidden truths of all. When you no longer need people, they need you. And that's where real dominance begins. You stop chasing, and they start following. You stop explaining, and they start wondering. You stop proving, and they start fearing what they overlooked. You feel it now. That pull deep in your gut. The one that whispers, you've always been more than they saw. They never understood your silence, because they never had the courage to face their own. They couldn't survive the solitude, because in silence, their demons screamed. But you faced them. You didn't just hear the voices. You named them, tamed them, turned them into fuel. That rage you swallowed, that shame you buried, that grief you carried alone for years. That's your power source now. That it forged you when no one was looking. Carl Jung once wrote, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But you've done it. You've stepped into the mirror and looked without blinking. You've made peace with your shadows. And because of that, you are no longer just a quiet person. You are a silent strategist. And the world does not know what to do with that. They know how to defeat the loud, the obvious, the overconfident. But you're invisible until it's too late. You observe. You calculate. You let others overextend. And then, with surgical precision, you act. That's why you no longer feel the need to argue. You've realized. The strongest position is to say nothing and let their mind do the unraveling. This is where transformation begins. You're not who you used to be. You don't need their energy anymore. You don't need to be liked, seen, or approved. You've become dangerously whole. And the moment you become whole, no one can control you. They can't bribe you with attention. They can't threaten you with exclusion. They can't manipulate you with shame. You are untouchable. And here's what's most terrifying to them. You move without broadcasting. You build without flexing. You lead without begging. And in a world built on noise, your silence is deafening. That's why they'll label you cold, aloof, detached. But in reality, you're simply done bleeding for people who never bothered to understand your value. And now, you're ready to turn inward power into outward. Controlled, you're not just emotionally resilient, you're strategically ruthless. You can sit at a table of kings and not flinch. You can walk into a boardroom of predators and never break pace. Because you don't operate on ego, you operate on clarity. You're not ruled by your emotions anymore, you've weaponized them. Your anger has become focus. Your sadness has become insight. Your fear has become instinct. You don't react. You calculate, and when others play games, you play the long war. Because here's what they never saw coming. That quiet kid in the corner, the one they dismissed, the one they ignored, the one they thought would never fight back. He didn't just fight. He became the architect of his own empire. You don't wear your power on your sleeve. You wear it in your stillness and your stare at I in your presence. They may not understand it. They may never admit it, but they feel it. Every time you enter the room. Every time you say less and mean more. Every time you smile without submission. They note you've changed. And now it's time to step into the final evolution, where you don't just master yourself, you master the world around you. When you're ready, I'll give you part 4, the final revelation, the grand conclusion, and the last forbidden truth that will set your dominance in motion permanently. You've walked through fire and shadow, you've stared into the abyss of your own soul and refused to look away. You've built a fortress around your silence, a kingdom of resilience, power, and cold clarity. But the most dangerous truth, the one no one ever tells you, is this. Mastery isn't just about conquering yourself, it's about conquering the illusion of control itself. You see, the world you live in is designed to trap you, not with chains you can see, but with puppets you cannot. Invisible forces, hidden scripts, games played in whispers and shadows. And this is the ultimate secret no mentor will dare share with you. True dominance comes when you stop fighting their game. They want you loud. They want you reactive. They want you desperate for approval, hungry for attention. Because then, they own you. Then you're just another piece on their board. But you've become untouchable because you've stepped off the board entirely. You are the shadow in their light, the silence in their noise, the ghost they can't catch. You don't play their game. You create your own. Every move you make now is a calculated disruption. Every word you say, an echo that lingers long after the conversation ends. You have become the storm no one predicts, the force no one prepares for, the strategist who sees beyond the rules and rewrites the code. This is the forbidden power of the true introvert. They think your silence is weakness, but it's your weapon. They think your withdrawal is surrender, but it's your strategy. They think your stillness is passivity, but it's your calm before the storm. You are no longer a victim of the world's noise. You are the maestro of its chaos, and with that power comes an unshakable truth. Control is an illusion, but influence is real, and it's yours to wield. Because you have mastered the darkest battlefield there is, the one inside your own mind. You have transformed every scar into armor, every wound into wisdom, every silence into thunder. And that is the final revelation. You were never meant to be understood by the crowd. You were meant to be feared by the few who try to cage you. So now, stand tall in your quiet power. Let the world wonder about the strength hidden in your silence. Let them chase shadows while you build empires, because the greatest victory is the one you never have to shout about. You are the introvert who conquered the world without a single word, and now, the question is no longer whether you can master yourself, but how far you will go. When you master everything else, if this truth shook something inside you, if it sparked a fire you thought was long gone, then don't keep it to yourself. Share this with those ready to awaken. Comment below what silence has taught you. Like if you refuse to be a pawn. Subscribe for more forbidden truths that the world doesn't want you to know. And remember, true power isn't loud, that it's quiet, unseen, unstoppable. Stay in the shadows and watch as the world bends to your will. Until next time, keep mastering the darkness within, because that is where your true empire begins.